Let us begin the session with a minute's silence and pray to Almighty that we all remain safe and healthy and the whole world overcomes these gloomy times. Continue to be seated wherever you are and close your eyes for a minute. Thank you and good evening once again to our chief guest of the evening, Sri APM Mohammad Hanish, IAS Principal Secretary of Industries to the Government of Kerala, Sri GS Prakash, Joint Director, Ministry of MSME, Government of India, and all invited guests who have joined to attend this inaugural workshop of the KMA MSME Forum. MSME Forum is one of the most important activities done by KMA, and a big majority of members belong to this category of business, either as managers or stakeholders in some way. Every year, we conduct a series of activities under the aegis of this forum at various locations convenient to the congregation of the MSMEs, and also do multiple workshops and such programs of utility to this all-important segment. We have Mr. Balagopal as the chairman for the KMA MSME Forum, and he will start the proceedings of the evening with a formal welcome address. Mr. Balagopal, or Bala as we call him, has 38 long-year career with State Bank of India in India and even abroad in various leadership positions, till he retired last year as their Assistant General Manager at Cochin. He is currently working as a CEO of Jackson's Veneers and Panels Private Limited, and he is an elected member of the KMA Managing Committee. Inviting Bala to offer the welcome address.
President of the Kerala Management Association, Madhav Chandran, Chief Guest, Sri APM Mohammad Hanish IAS, Mr. GS Prakash, Joint Director, MSME Institute, Trichur, who will be taking the session today, past presidents of Kerala Management Association, members of the Management Committee, members of KMA, registered delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It was on 24th June, the activities of MSME Forum of KMA got inaugurated by Sri P. Rajiv, Honorable Minister of Industries and Government of Kerala. On the same day, we had a panel discussion by Mr. Uday Kumar, Director NSIC, Mr. Biju, General Manager DICR Nakulam, and Mr. Adi Keshavan, Chief General Manager, State Bank of India, discussing about the various schemes and facilities on offer for the MSMEs. Mr. Hari Kumar, Managing Director TCC, moderated the discussions. Today, we are indeed fortunate to have Sri APM Mohammad Hanish, IAS Principal Secretary, Industries, Government of Kerala, to inaugurate today's session, which is going to be handled by Sri GS Prakash, Joint Director, MSME Institute, Trichur. Sri APM Mohammad Hanish needs no introduction to people of vernacular in particular, and also for people in Kerala. Is an IAS officer of the 1996 batch, held many important positions and many high-profile offices, such as the District Collector, Director of School Education Department, and Secretary of PWD and Urban Development, to name a few. Indeed, no special mention that in a country such as ours, on the cusp of the new dawn of development, this is no mean feat. Appropriately, the man is also the recipient of E-Governance Award instituted by the Government of Kerala for the initiatives undertaken by the Education Department. He was also Managing Director of Kochi Metro Rail, Kerala State Civil Supplies Corporation, etc. Let me extend a very warm and hearty welcome to Sri AP Mohammad Hanish, IAS. Mr. Prakash GS, IEDS, Joint Director, MSME Development Institute, Thrissur, Kerala. He is an Indian Enterprise Development Service Cadre Officer in Government of India. A graduate in engineering prior to joining to the Ministry of MSME, he worked in BPL Limited as a production engineer in the Consumer Electronics Division. In the ministry, he worked in the headquarters at Delhi and worked at 6 different locations in the country. Presently posted as Joint Director, Head of Office at MSME Department Institute, Thrissur. He is engaged in implementation of various programs and policies of the Ministry of MSME in Kerala and Lakshadweep. Let me extend a very warm welcome to Sri GS Prakash. Let me also extend a warm welcome to all the registered participants, past presidents of the Kerala Management Association, members of the Management Committee of KMA, and all the KMA members. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. Good evening once again to our chief guest of the evening, Sri APM Mohammed Hanish IAS, Sri GS Prakash, all the past presidents, Mr. AK Nair, Mr. Jose Philip, Mr. SR Nair, Mr. Rajmohan Nair, Mr. Vivek Krishna Govind. I can't find many more faces here. Senior Vice President Nirmala Lilly, Honorary Secretary Jomon George, KMA MSME Forum Chairman Mr. Balagopal, other Managing Committee members, Executive Committee members, members of KMA and other LMAs, students and invited guests, including many distinguished personalities like Mr. KS Mani IAS retired, who is present here, Mr. Krishna Kumar, the Senior Vice President of AVT, who is present here, among many other leaders who are attending this session. Very good evening to each one of you. This year, as we all know, we have had many activities, though not clearly specified to target the MSME segment, were quite relevant and meaningful for this segment in its contents and flavor. As you know, KMA is engaged in conducting meaningful events to help businesses and professions in the state of Kerala, thereby keeping the entrepreneurs and business leaders updated on the new development in the processes, deployable technology, funding, and financing models, as well as statutory compliances related to each of them. MSMEs form a major part of our membership, as it does to our state's industrial charts. This sector has been recognized as the engine of growth all over the world, and India, they are recognized as a major contributor in the economic growth and said to be the backbone of the Indian economy. In the past, it has provided resilience to ward off even global economic shocks and adversities. Kerala has the 12th largest number of MSMEs in India, generating employment for approximately over 45 lakh of people. Both the central and state governments, as well as our financial institutions, have very many schemes and policies to protect and encourage this all-important segment of business. However, in spite of all the so-called support measures from various institutions, that too with very good prospects worldwide now, the Indian MSMEs have been subject to many constraints, and most of them not really getting the wind beneath their wings. They in general lack up-to-date information on various critical factors and the support systems available for them, and are often unaware about the latest technologies present in the global market. Many times they lack managerial skills, entrepreneurial knowledge, and technology-intensive education to run a competent MSME. KMA does regular events for the MSME segment, which includes seminars, workshops, and summits, where we bring the MSME stakeholders together and discuss ways and means to enrich, encourage, and to enlighten them. Currently, with the concerns and difficulties brought in by the pandemic and its after effects, MSMEs are almost at a standstill, barring, of course, a few in certain sectors. Central and state governments have introduced many schemes to help the segment tide over the crisis, and the banking sector also has got many packages to revive and revitalize the needy stakeholders. However, most of these benefits or schemes are not reaching the right hands, nor are they aware of most of these offerings. It is in the wake of this situation that KMA had organized an MSME summit on the eve of the World MSME Day on 26 July as the inaugural event of the MSME Forum's activities this year, inviting all the MSMEs from across the state and explain to them the various schemes and policies brought out by central and state governments, as well as offerings from the banking sector. As mentioned by our chairman Bala, we had 3 learned speakers in Mr. P. Uday Kumar, Director of Marketing of National Small Industries Corporation, Mr. Biju P. Abraham, the General Manager of District Industry Center, Ernakulam, and Mr. S. Adi Keshavan, the Chief General Manager of SBI, explaining in brief the various packages offered by the central and state governments, as well as the banking schemes available between the 3 of them. The highlight of the summit, however, was the presence of Honorable Minister for Industries, Law and COER, Sri P. Rajiv, to whom we could present some of the points that came up in the summit flow for his consideration, and also submit these as a document later to his office, as well as to our Chief Minister's consideration. The Minister also addressed us and shared the new government's vision and plans, maybe for the first time after he assumed office hardly a month ago. He spoke at length on responsible investment and responsible governance. It was indeed a befitting coincidence that it vibed well with the annual theme of KMA, spearheading responsible management. But what came out loud and clear in that MSME summit was that there were a lot of gray areas in all these offerings that are available from various sources to cater to the MSME segment, and a detailing of each of these was badly needed. Hence, KMA decided to have individual workshops focusing on the schemes and policies offered by central and state governments, an exclusive session to explain the banking packages and offerings, as well as another session on handholding the MSMEs on the new trends in technology and how to do effective networking of all the stakeholders of the MSME ecosystem to engage and empower them by connecting them to governments, corporations, trade bodies, and all partners worldwide, thus making them a part of the global MSME community. In fact, we have had one such session yesterday with the leader talk session of KMA when Mr. Samir Vakil of Global Inger, Mumbai, addressed us on how to steer MSMEs to help create a global manufacturing hub in India. Today, we have the first of this workshop series with the central government schemes and packages being explained and deliberated in detail by an authority on the subject from the Government of India, Ministry of MSME, Sri G.S. Prakash. We sincerely wish that this session to be meaningful and useful for the delegates and all from the MSME sector to tide over the current crisis staring at them, as well as to steer ahead to become world leaders in their fields of expertise. And it is a great privilege to have none other than the Principal Secretary to the Government of Kerala for Industries Department, Mr. APM Muhammad Hanish, IAS, with us today to inaugurate the workshop and to address us. A great friend of KMA and most of us present here, he is the proud property of our Ernakulam district. As the district collector of Ernakulam, head of Kochi Metro and Kochi Smart City, and as the chairman and managing director of Kerala State Civil Supplies Corporation, MD of Marketfed, etc., he used to be the omnipresent bureaucrat of our times. Moving into the headquarters and being at the helm of affairs as Director of Public Instructions Kerala, Secretary PWD and Urban Development, and Director of School Education Department, he left indelible marks with his astute administrative skills. Among many recognitions that he received in his career, as Bala mentioned, he has also received the State E-Governance Award instituted by the Government of Kerala for the initiatives taken in our education department. Currently holding the additional charges as Managing Director, Roads and Bridges Development Corporation of Kerala Limited, and the Chairman, Financial Services Limited of the Government of Kerala. He is now serving as a Principal Secretary, Industries Department, Government of Kerala, and the additional charge of Principal Secretary, General Education and Waqf Department. On a personal note, I'm so proud that I belong to the same batch of engineering graduates when he graduated in civil engineering from College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and his life partner, Amina, is a close friend of my wife, Sujata, and his 18-year-old daughter, Aisha, is a friend and classmate of my younger son. A very busy administrator, passionate quiz master, eloquent speaker, and a habitual writer. Sri Hanish has been to KMA many a times before. But this is the first time he is coming to KMA after taking over as a Principal Secretary of Industries. If situation was allowing, we would have accorded a very warm and befitting felicitation to this great friend of all of us. But even in this online event, we thought we must make at least one bouquet of flowers to be presented to him as a token of our love, pride, and respect to him. We have Mr. Arun P.S., the technical head of Tata Consultancy Services, Trivandrum, and a member of KMA, now presenting a physical floral bouquet to Mr. Hanish, welcoming him to our midst. I hope he has reached there. He's in Trivandrum. Prajit, Can you spot him?
Sir, Madhav sir, he's still busy with somebody in his office.
Oh, okay. So we'll wait for the bouquet to be presented later.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, let me just see. You have spoken to him, right, Jojo?
Yes, I have spoken to him.
Yeah. So we will welcome him as soon as he comes in. Now, to start the formal workshop by introducing the session and the distinguished speaker of the session, and also to moderate the Q&A from the delegates, we have our Honorary Secretary, Mr. Jomon George here. Jomon is a chartered accountant with over 29 years of diversified practice experience and was also the chairman of the Southern Region of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. He is also a faculty in professional circuits on topics of contemporary relevance and a faculty to various B schools. He is also an SME, I mean a subject matter expert when it comes to finance matters related to MSME, and an elected managing committee member at KMA. Over to you, Chartered Accountant Jomon George, to carry on with the session of the workshop.
Thank you. Good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible and clear. Extremely delighted to be part of this MSME empowerment program. The President in his address has set the tone and the mood for the evening program. Once again, good evening to all of you. President of KMA, Mr. Madhav Chandran, the MSME Forum Chair, Mr. Balagopal, our very special guest, our pride, Mohammed Hanish sir, and today's very experienced speaker, Mr. GS Prakash, the Director of MSME at the MSME Institute, Trichy. Illustrious past presidents who have spent substantial amount of their time in bringing up KMA to its present stature and glory. 120 of the participants, our MSME friends, managing committee members, once again, one good evening to all of you. As has been discussed already, MSMEs contribute a substantial part, 28%, 29% of India's economy. And the pandemic has been giving big blows to them, and they have been so badly affected by the lack of business orders and the slowdown in the economy. Therefore, KMA in its journey with a purpose, as mentioned, and of course, in pushing, enabling MSMEs, the series of programs were planned, and two of them were very brilliantly executed under the able chairmanship of Mr. Balagopal. And today we are on to have, as the President indicated, from the takeoff program, which was blessed by the Honorable Industries Minister, we are taking off on the details of the central government schemes which have been announced in the wake of the COVID and the pandemic. And we have a very, very expert speaker on this topic, Joint Director, MSME Directorate, Trichy. He has been introduced in detail by Balagopal. And he, before coming to the Ministry of MSME, holds rich experience as a production engineer in a corporate as well. So with that rich experience, I'm sure that Mr. GS Prakash would be able to give us the real perspective, full details of the schemes which have been rolled out by the central government in order to empower the MSMEs. And at the ministry, we know that there is a new minister. Mr. Narayan Rane has replaced the minister, and he has come out with a wish list. And one of the things is to create more of employment, and also to have the economic contribution to the economic growth, and increasing the percentage from 28% to 35%. So it is in this backdrop that another very meaningful program by KMA. We have a good turnout today and extremely happy. So with this, without any further ado, I would now request the speaker to take over, and then probably we'll have the Q&A at the end, which I would be happy to moderate. Thank you, President, for the opportunity. It is back to you, or if it's done, I would request the very experienced learner speaker, MSME Director, Mr. GS Prakash, to take over. So over to you, Mr. Prakash.
Thank you, Mr. Jomon K. George. Mr. R. Madhava Chandran, President KMA. Shri B. Balagopal, Chairman of the MSME Forum. Shri APM Muhammad Hanish, Principal Secretary, Industries Department of Government of Kerala. Very experienced and some of the most prominent management experts from Kerala, some of those whom I could see, Mr. S.R. Nair and many other people. People like S.R. Nair, we had a long association when I was in MSME field offices. MSME now it's a very popular branch. We all hear about MSMEs very frequently because of the various policy initiatives, recent changes, importance of the sector. In fact, it is a welcome trend that all the stakeholders are now discussing about at least about the MSME and its relevance. We had the International MSME Day celebration on June 27. And in fact, I had attended almost 4 programs. One program in the Palakkad Management Association also organized. Indian Chartered and Cost Accountants organizations from Kochi chapter, Thrissur chapter, and there is a state government program. Then there is a Government of India program. So we had a International MSME Days being celebrated. Shows that people are slowly realizing the importance and significance of MSMEs. The MSME term, if you say the micro, small, and medium enterprises, is we call it the segment in Indian context. But similar terms are there in all over the world, whether it is SME, SMB.
Mr. Prakash, if I may just interrupt, I'm sorry to do this. Mr. Hanish has just joined, so we'll just ask him to inaugurate, and so that you can continue with the session, because a formal inauguration was supposed to be done by Mr. Muhammad Hanish. He's got stuck with a visitor there, so he got a bit late. He just joined now. Just with your permission, may speak to Mr. Hanish.
Good evening. Good evening, Madhav, and all the colleagues, friends over there.
We would like to welcome you formally to this session, sir. This is the first time you are coming to KMA after assuming the office of the Principal Secretary of Industries. If situation was allowing, we would have got you personally here somehow at your convenience, but we would have accorded a warm and befitting felicitation also to you as a great friend of all of us present here. But even in this online event, we thought we must at least send across one bouquet of flowers, and we have Mr. Arun P.S., the technical head of Tata Consulting Services, Trivandrum there, and a member of KMA, presenting a physical bouquet to you, sir, to express love and affection and respect to you. Now,
thank you so much. I mean, this is a wonderful occasion where the hybrid variety is created between physical and virtual meeting. Bouquet, physical, and words, virtual.
Yes. You may go ahead with the inauguration of this workshop, which is just underway, and you can share your views and thoughts also on the road ahead for the MSME segment here. We have an array of distinguished listeners among the delegates here. Over to you, sir. All yours.
Mr. Madhav Chandran, Sujata, all the wonderful personalities at Kerala Management Association, which has always been a kind of a second home for me in Cochin. Countless other occasions when I had always been there, made all kinds of, lots of speeches as well. Now, today for this session, which is specifically focused on the growth of MSME and the relevance that MSME has come to acquire in the recent times. I really would love to state that it is in the last 20 years that we had seen a kind of a revolution in the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector. Especially so after the kind of reforms that were introduced, trying to bring in a greater deal of synergy between the market and the product. Earlier, years, decades went by when the MSMEs, of course, were in existence, not very much noticed and not very much, marketed as well. That was a time when most of the micro units tried to be ancillary units to the major players. There has been a paradigm shift with the beginning of the 21st century. Now the thing is that we have seen a vibrant, absolutely radiant and strong, robust MSME sector growing up, and which has always had the freedom and also the strength to market their own products without depending on the majors over them. This is a qualitative difference. Second point has been the kind of extraordinary linkages that many of the MSME players had made with the market. The linkage has also extended back and forth towards the academic world as well. That's most important because we find the flourishing or the emergence of a large number of these startups as well. Startups ultimately get incubated in many of these academic institution facilities. It's from these startups that ultimately we have the generation or the birth of many of these MSMEs. As far as an MSME is concerned, three questions arise. One is the question of this finance. Second is the question of the space in the market. And third is the question of this technology. In the case of the technology, thankfully enough, because of the emergence of too many players and a lot of innovations and contraptions, lots of innovative practices, as well as methods and products and systems coming in, we have a great deal of application of technology in the field. When it comes to finance, be it the Atmanirbhar package or the Mudra loan or so on and so forth, finance has been forthcoming for bankable projects and viable projects. I make a distinction between the non-performing asset and the performing asset. You would certainly be tempted to ask me as to how you can classify an asset to be an NPA and performing asset without even giving them the freedom to do so. That's wherein our Kerala government, or for that matter, some of the state governments, have been instrumental in bringing about, kind of automatic license granting process, deemed license being provided to institutions which can go about the task of the production of manufacturing or whatever for the next 3 years without in any way being disturbed by the issuance of the licenses, permitted, whatever. Thereafter, in the next 6 months, we can certainly seek the sanctions and the permissions as well. So that goes a long way in terms of promoting the excellence and the kind of enterprise and the energy of the MSMEs. The third point which I emphasize would be that of, apart from the finance, apart from technology, it's also the question of the space in the market. Gone are the times when we could actually have all these MSMEs clamoring for more and more reservations. In a decongested, debottlenecked and de-reserved market, wherein excellence in terms of the quality of the product, wherein the kind of smoothness and the ease with which the market accepts and delivers the product, and wherein the e-commerce aspect is also brought into play, it becomes all the more important for the manufacturers and the producers to see to it that these MSMEs ultimately stand the test of time and also test of critical scrutiny. We cannot seek cover under the garb of protectionism. Gone are the times, and we need not go in for that also. So into the 21st century of the 21st century, we find the emergence of too many MSMEs over here. From the Kerala government statistics, I can state that the number of MSMEs in the state of Kerala has doubled in the last 5 years. This augurs well for the sector. At the same time, it also creates a kind of critical failing amongst us, a possible failing that after an initial promising start, maybe because of the absence of handholding, the absence of finance, and the absence of ideas, MSMEs flounder. This has also happened in many such cases. So all these things put together, we need to factor in all these aspects so that MSMEs have to flourish. Lots of experts have actually joined in under the, the kind of, the banner of Kerala Management Association for this wonderful movement and the wonderful seminar. In spite of all the kind of, tremendous deal of, pressure on time, Legislative Assembly session is going on. Minister is making his speech, and today is the demands day for the Industries and Commerce Department. I ultimately could wriggle out of the big crowd in my room as well, with or without COVID, and being exposed, and then could finally come in. Sorry for that, 20 minutes late. But then I hope and pray that this belated access of mine or belated attendance of mine by 20 minutes will not deter, will not stand in the way of the flourishing of glorious thoughts and glorious ideas about MSMEs. I wish all the best for all those MSMEs and the partners, the academicians, the businessmen, the members of various other like-minded organizations, and most of all, my beloved organization, Kerala Management Association, and my good friend, Madhav Chandran and Sujata Chandran. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I formally inaugurate today's proceedings. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We have a subject matter expert, Mr. G.S. Prakash, whom we interrupted, without any
And
He
sorry for that.
actually-
I'm sorry, Mr. Prakash, for interrupting you in the course of your well-structured
No,
speech.
no problem, sir, no problem.
I'm sorry for that. I'm extremely sorry for that. But then
Sir,
the
no.
pressures of
Really-
time, I put it
Really appreciate that you came out of your pressing engagements and did this speech. Thank you so much, sir. We'll get on with the session. Thank you so much. And over to you, Mr. Prakash. You may continue. Thank you so much.
So let me continue. So the MSMEs all over the world has been there are several terms being used. As you said, in Germany, it may be investment plus turnover. In Japan, it may be number of employees. In some other country, it may be combination of some other factors. So based on that, the MSMEs are classified and or the SMBs are classified, and governments, the respective governments are providing various incentives, packages, etc. for the promotion of this particular sector. Why it is so important means the MSMEs, as per the various studies conducted, the employment potential of MSMEs, the wealth distribution potential. Various studies indicate that 1 lakh investment in the MSME sector create as many as 2 to 3 times more employment than the organized sector. And the money goes to the MSMEs, the MSME entrepreneurs, get distributed among the suppliers, various stakeholders. So it's as a tool for wealth distribution. Also, MSMEs are considered one of the major segment of the national economy. In fact, Indian MSMEs contribute as much as 49. The last year, 2017-18, the MSME sector contributed something around 48% of the Indian export. And it is just in terms of the number of employment, it is just below the agriculture, and in GDP also 30%. So the MSME sector is a vital sector for the national economy. But when it comes to the importance in the budgetary support and all, I must say that the kind of support required for the MSMEs, or the kind of support the sector actually deserves, is not in the last 50 years. The MSMEs were not able to get. Because the MSME entrepreneurs, if you take the total number of entrepreneurs in the country, MSME, it is estimated that 6 crore MSMEs are there. But again, if you take the number of MSMEs registered, the organized sector, it is just 1 crore plus. Because the MSME registration, this particular government of India, particular government, when it came to power, it has simplified the registration and made it as online registration with without any documents. So roughly around 1 crore plus MSMEs only registered. So that means 80% of the MSMEs are unorganized sector. So how this 6 crore MSME figure has come out? Because it is based on the sample survey. If you take MSME, a service center or a cycle workshop or a photostat center, even our STD booths in the olden times, are all MSMEs, service sector MSMEs. So these are all comes under the purview of MSME. So it's very, very difficult to exactly quantify the number of MSMEs in the country. But going for the various figures, as per the Government of India, Ministry of MSME Statistics alone, it is more than 6 crore MSMEs. Now I got a small presentation. I will come to the presentation. Yeah, is it okay? Are you able to see the presentation?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
So my presentation, as you know, the industry is in the concurrent list of the Constitution, where both state and central government has got roles to play, as Mr. Sri Muhammad Anish has pointed out. The various policies at national level, even the definition of MSME, the registration process, everything is decided by the Government of India level, but the implementation is done by the respective state government. So the programs and policies of the Ministry of MSME, Government of India will be, I will be taking my presentation will be concentrating on really on that aspect. As you know, the Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, was a very dynamic minister, who was just been changed, and Mr. Narayan Rane is the minister now, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra. So this is the MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. That is the MSME sector. So Indian MSMEs are more than 6 lakh, about 6 crore MSMEs, 70 million employment, 38% GDP, 40+% export. In Kerala also, we take more than 23 lakhs MSMEs are there. Almost 99% are in the micro sector. 40 million people, 40 lakh people are employed, which is around 12% of the population and constitute 40% of the workforce. The national level also, if we take, the figures are very significant. So overall, the support system, it is like this. The government of central government level, the Ministry of MSME is the main organization under which there's a MSME board is there. Then Development Commissioner MSME, who is Mr. D.K. Singh, Kerala Cadre IAS officer, he is the Development Commissioner of MSME, Additional Secretary of MSME. Then there are other organizations like KAIR Board, National Small Industries Corporation, KVAC, Khadi Village Industries Commission, SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank. These are all at the central level organizations for the MSMEs. State level, we have got a Director of Industries, District Industry Centers, Kerala Financial Corporation, KSIDC, KINFRA, SIDCO, KBIP. These are some of the organizations at state level in the state government. So MSME Development Institute, the Thrissur, which from my office, is under the Development Commission MSME, which is the field office of the Ministry of MSME, implementing the programs and policies of the Ministry of MSME in Kerala and Lakshadweep. MSME field offices, we got offices in all over India, in all the states, at least one office is there. MSME network, these field offices have got a network of offices, MSME Development Institutes, MSME Testing Centers, MSME Technology Centers. So it's a large number of organizations are available. And this particular MSME Technology Centers, we have got 18 technology centers functioning all over India. Some of these are Indo-German tool rooms, Indo-Danish tool rooms, central tool rooms. So they've got a combined turnover of around 1,000 crore. Some of them are doing 3-shift work. They are offering MTech, BTech programs also, like CITD, Central Institute of Tool Design, Hyderabad. Bhubaneswar, Central Institute, Bhubaneswar Center. They are supplying equipments to defense and space missions. These are all common facility centers where MSMEs can come and to make common facilities, use as a common facility to make tools, dies, jigs and all. And also they can take the training from there. In Kerala, we don't have a technology center right now, but a new technology center is coming up in Angamali, in the Telk site. Actually, 15 new technology centers are being set up by the present government with an investment of around 3,000 crore. And in Kerala also, one new technology center is coming up with an investment of 200 crore. This is a land provided by the state government. And at the site is the Telk, Angamali Telk site. The facility coming up there is the engineering facility with the precision machine tooling and allied equipments to produce high precision parts and components and training programs. The work is in progress. Tata Consultancy Engineers is doing the work. The civil work, almost 80% is complete. MSME Ministry has also have a testing centers, MSME testing centers, 4 main testing centers in metros, and also testing stations where MSMEs can come and test their products. So the policy framework comes to the MSME Act 2006 is the basic act which defined the MSMEs. And what is the MSME? Prior to that, it is the industry and business. But 2000, the club together and come the enterprise. The concept of enterprise was introduced in 2006 MSME Act. So MSME Act defines how to register of MSME, what is the constitution of MSME board, how the credit payment to be delayed payment, what is the delayed payment, what is the definition of delayed payment, all this is covered under the MSME Act. So earlier we had the definition of MSME based on investment, plant and machinery. But during this Atmanirbhar package announced during the pandemic package, 20 lakh crore package announced, in which 5 lakh crore has been earmarked for MSMEs. The government has changed the definition of MSMEs. Now the definition is based on the investment and turnover. It's a composite criteria based on investment and turnover. So if you take the definition, investment up to 1 crore and turnover 5 crore is micro. Investment up to 10 crore and turnover up to 10 crore, 50 crore is small. Investment up to 50 crore and turnover up to 250 crore is the medium scale enterprises. So in case of the enterprise crosses the criteria, either of the criteria, it will be placed in the higher category. That means, suppose a unit is having an investment about 1.5 crore, but turnover below 5 crore, it will be placed in the small scale category. It will not be placed in the lower category unless it comes down in both the categories. If both the categories comes down only, it will be placed in the lower category. Export turnover is exempted for the definition of turnover. Now, what is how the turnover and investment is defined here? The turnover and investment is defined based on the income tax ITR filed. The calculation of investment will be based on the ITR of the financial year filed under the IT Act. In a particular financial year, what is the ITR? What is the investment? What you are showing is the income tax. Turnover is based on the GST or ITR. So new enterprises where there is no ITR, they can do based on the self-declaration basis. A new enterprises, starting a new enterprise, he has not filed the first ITR, he can file his MSME registration through the self-declaration basis. But till the first filing of ITR, this will be applicable. Based on the ITR, he has to resubmit it again. When new enterprises are set up on self-declaration basis, the invoice value of the plant and machinery or equivalent, whether purchased first or second hand, shall be taken into account including GST. While calculating the plant and machinery, normally the R&D, pollution control equipments, generator set, etc. have been exempted. The turnover is based on the GST and IT, or GST or IT. The turnover again against a particular PAN of all the enterprises will be clubbed together and calculated as one enterprise. That means if you got an enterprise and the PAN is registered against the enterprises, whichever units, locations, different manufacturing facilities will be there, but that will be all clubbed together and calculated as a single entity for calculation of turnover. PAN is mandatory. In fact, GST number was also mandatory, but recently the government has come up with an amendment to give such MSMEs which are exempted otherwise, like 40 crore, turnover up to 40 crore, manufacturing 20 crores, service sector enterprises, which need not have the GST number, can file the MSME registration without the GST number. That is the recent change. But PAN is mandatory. So how the MSME registration is done? There's a Udyam registration. If you see the portal, Udyam registration portal, this is a Government of India portal, Ministry of MSME portal. It's an online registration without any fee. You need not pay any fee. There are a lot of sites, fake sites in the net, which will divert you to such site and they will ask you payments. But there is no need to go to any payment site. You can directly go to the MSME site and register. So what are things you require? You have to go to the udyamregistration.gov.in. You need your Aadhaar number, you need a PAN number. PAN, if your enterprise is a proprietary, the name of the proprietor. If it's enterprise, in the name of the enterprise, PAN number is required. Based on the Aadhaar number of the authorized secretary. If it is a company or a society or a LLP or any other type of organization, authorized signatory, PAN number and Aadhaar number, sorry, PAN number of the company and Aadhaar number of the authorized signatory is required. As I told you, there is a fake sites are there, maybe. So Aadhaar number required, PAN is mandatory. PAN along with Aadhaar number for company, LLP, cooperative, society, and trust. But for individual enterprises, PAN number of individual and the Aadhaar number required. So the thing is, every year you have to update your Udyam registration with the filing of the your IT returns and GST returns. You have to update it. Accordingly, the site will update your Udyam registration. Suppose your turnover has crossed a particular limit or an investment crossed a particular limit, then accordingly your MSME status also will change. Actually, the government is planning to have this Udyam registration portal to automatically fetch data from GST portal and income tax portal, but right now it is not doing. But government is planning to the portal in such a way that the portal will automatically fetch the information from the PAN from the GST portal and also the income tax portal. Automatically it updates. Recently, the government has, at least 1 month, 2-3 weeks back, the government has come up with an order wherein the traders also being allowed to register MSMEs. Traders are allowed to, wholesale and retail traders have been allowed to register MSME for the purpose of priority sector lending only. This particular benefit is available for traders only for priority sector lending. Earlier, traders were not allowed to register as MSME. But now they are allowed and they can register in the MSME register and they can avail the priority sector lending. You know, the government, the RBI has set a target of 40%. The banks has to give 40% of their credit to the priority sector lending, which includes MSME, housing, and then various other sectors. 9 sectors are there: housing, social disadvantaged sections. So all these sectors are included in this MSME sector, also be included. So now with this introduction, the banks, whichever, whenever they avail the credit, sanction credit to the traders, that can be come under the category of priority sector. So there are certain activities which cannot be registered at the MSME, like the agriculture activity, forestry, gambling. Some of these activities cannot be registered as MSMEs. Even agriculture also, these activities can register: production of eggs, hatcheries, primary processing of agriculture products. If you process the agriculture products like cleaning, trimming, and grading, post-harvest activities, that can register. When you go for processing, it can register as an MSME. All the existing MSMEs has to change the new registration before 31st December 2021. Otherwise, their registration will not be valid after that. So what are the advantages of registration? What benefits you will get if you get an MSME registration? First, I told you the public priority sector lending. Then what are the benefits for the government, state government or central government is coming out? All this, to avail all this benefit, MSME registration. For example, public procurement policy. As per the public procurement policy, all the governments, and I'm talking about the central public procurement policy, all the central government undertakings, government departments, they have to procure at least 25% of their procurement from the MSMEs. MSCs, actually, medium sector is not there, micro and small enterprises. And there is a price preference. Price preference and tender documents and EMD exemption is there. Tender document you will get free, EMD exemptions. In the 25%, 4% is reserved for SC/ST entrepreneurs, 3% for women entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs means proprietary means should be women. All other formats, major stake, 51% stake should be with the women. SC/ST also same. So, as you know, the public procurement is a very large and a big quantity. Roughly around 10 lakh crore public procurement is done by state and central government departments. So 25% is a big amount. So the MSMEs can get directly access to the government departments, direct market to the government through this particular policy initiative. But traders and work contract is exempted from the purview of the public procurement policy. There's also the preference to make in India. Preference to make in India policy also gives preference to the local the people who have got a local content in their product. What is the local content means? The sales price minus the import content divided by the sales price. If it is above 50%, that is called the class 1 supplier. So the class 1 supplier will be given preference even if he is not a L1. Every department has to decide the certain margin, L1 plus certain margin. So accordingly, they have to give the class 1 supplier the preference, even if he is not giving his quota the L1. In the MSME procurement policy also, even if a supplier supplies above within the 15% of the L1, the particular tender is a divisible tender, at least 20%. Non-divisible tender means the entire tender has to be given to the MSC supplier, provided he brings the price to the L1 price. Here also, the class 1 supplier or the class 2 supplier, whichever as per the tender document decides, they have to give the preference. The government e-market, it's an online government marketplace where the MSMEs can place their product and directly get the access to the government departments. Government e-market is a big market where the government departments, government PSUs, government undertakings can directly go and procure the items whichever available. Actually, as per the government GFR, any item available in the GEM has to be procured from GEM. Even the state government, many state government also given the notification. So the GEM, if you take the GEM, it is around 52,000 buyers are there, government departments. Almost 1,16,000 business has been done through the GEM. And 4 lakh per products are there. So this is a big market for the MSMEs to place their products. As a supplier, MSMEs can place their product in the GEM. There is also a place for startups in the GEM. Startups can also place their products in the GEM, and any government department after on a trial basis can use their product and can validate their product. Once the government department validate their product, they can permanently place their product in the GEM board. Trade receivable e-discounting system, TREDS. One of the biggest challenges faced with the MSME is the delayed payment. When they when they sell the items to a large enterprises, normally they get the payment very, after 90 days, 150 days, 180 days. That skews their working capital. So this is a big challenge for the MSMEs. To overcome this bill discounting system, trade receivable e-discounting system has been introduced. It is a RBI initiative, as per the RBI specification. 3 platforms, 3 operators are there, which is operating this trade platform. So all the large scale enterprises with above 500 turnover has to register in the TREDS platform as a buyer. And MSMEs can register as a seller. And there is financial institutions. Almost 71 banks are available in the. So there are buyer side discounting and seller side discounting. Suppose a seller side discounting, a unit in Kerala sells a product to BPCL and they place that invoice in the TREDS platform. So bankers will give, once they place the TREDS platform, the buyer will immediately acknowledge it and the bank will give an offer. The offer in the sense, 1,000 rupees bill, they will give, or 100 rupees bill, will give you 96 rupees. That means the interest portion, minus the interest portion, they will give an offer. Once the seller accepts, different banks will give different offers. There's a bidding. So which the banks will not be able to say each other. So whichever bank is giving the best offer, the MSME can accept it. And within 24 hours, they will get the payment from the banks. And by the time of the payment, they will get the payment from the buyer. This is the seller side discounting. This is similarly buyer side discounting. When buyer side discounting, if the buyer agrees, the whole amount can be given to the MSMEs. So this TRED platform is a very effective platform for the MSMEs for the getting immediate payment. Delayed Payment Act. As per the MSME Act, if the payment is delayed more than 45 days, they can get the delayed payment facilitate. They can approach the facilitation council. There is a facilitation council functioning in each state. They can file a case in the facilitation council to facilitate that one. Actually, if you go to the facilitation council and the council gives an award with the penal interest, 3 times of the bank interest, the buyer has to pay the amount to the seller. To facilitate it, there's a Samadhan portal. The MSME portal is there, where the MSMEs can go and register their delayed payment grievances. It will be the public domain, so the seller also can see it. So after a period of they try to reconcile it, before it's going to the facilitation council. After that, it will go to the facilitation council. This is a quasi-judicious type of arrangement. There are certain marketing supports by the ministry. MSME ministry offers MSMEs to participate in national and international exhibitions with the airfare and stall charges reimbursement. International fares up to 1.5 lakh for the airfare and the charges. Also national fares. Also, the MSME organizing associations can participate in international events by sending delegates for international exhibitions, international conference, and that. That's also possible under the scheme. National Small Industry Corporation is operating MSME Mart. It's a B2B portal where the MSMEs can place their products and look for international markets. Khadi India, ekhadiindia.com is also a portal by the Khadi board where Khadi products can place the products. Khadi industries can place the products and sell through the different outlets of the Khadi and the e-commerce portal of Khadi. To improve the competitiveness of MSMEs, MSME ministry is actually different schemes are operating, but the schemes are under review now. So I'm not coming to the particular schemes. But the schemes are mainly, there's a scheme called Z, Zero Effect, Zero Defect seed certification, Zero Effect, Zero Defect. Then lean manufacturing techniques. Design clinic schemes also there. Because I have not included this particular presentation because the scheme is under revision and up to 2021 it was there, but now the schemes are under revision and it will be relaunched again. Also, we are operating a reimbursement scheme for patent, trademark and all. Up to domestic patent, 1 lakh rupee we are giving reimbursement. And international patent, 5 lakh rupee we are giving. And trademark also. And GA, geographic indication also, 2 lakh rupee we are giving. All these can be availed through the MSME Facilitation Council. Sorry, MSME IP Facilitation Center, which is functioning at MSME at Thrissur. Coming to the credit. As you know, there is CGTMSE, Credit Guarantee Trust for MSMEs, 2 crore projects, up to 2 crore can avail without collateral security. This is a CGTMSE, is a corpus fund of the Ministry of MSME, which gives collateral-free loans through the various banks for the eligible projects, otherwise approved to the banks. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program is another program operated at the Ministry of MSME for providing assistance to the first generation or the new entrepreneurs to create new enterprises. Up to project up to 25 lakhs with 35% subsidies available for women SC/ST. For manufacturing, 10 lakh for business. For second loan also, for the second loan also up to 1 crore is available for under the particular scheme. This particular scheme is implemented through Khadi Village Industries Commission through the state government, district industry centers. The restructuring of MSMEs is RBI is now allowing one-time restructuring of MSME due to the pandemic. The MSMEs they are facing a lot of difficulties. So the government of India has come up with the one-time restructuring. As per the RBI guidelines, all the banks are now being allowed to restructure the MSME loans. The Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, the 5 lakh crore package announced by the government of India, in which 4.5 lakh crore has been earmarked for this particular component, which provides up to 40% of the credit, outstanding credit, available on the account of MSME loan account. As on the end of the February 2020. Up to 40%, certain sectors as per the Kamath committee, up to 40% is available for the MSMEs with 100% guarantee by the government of India. Under this thing, almost 3 lakh crore has already been sanctioned. In Kerala itself, around 6,000 crore has already been dispersed to more than 1 lakh MSMEs. So you see Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, the 4 different versions, 1.0, 2.0, 3.4, 4 versions has come. Even the health sector, hospitals, medical colleges, all the health sector also covered. And even the personal loans of for business purpose, the professionals, the managerial experts, chartered accounts, they can also avail this particular loan under the Emergency Credit Line. And the biggest advantage is a 2 year, there is a 1 year moratorium for the principal, and then 4 year, after first year, 5 year tenure for the loan repayment. And the interest is also capped. And as I told you, there's a restructuring proposal. There is a SIDBI, there is a restructuring module, asset restructuring module for MSME. It's an online module wherein MSME can go and submit their proposal for restructuring, which will be, bank can see and they can further negotiate with the MSME. The Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme is available for MSMEs, which is not an NPA, non-performing assets, or trust. Trust means if your loan repayment period is more than 60 days, you cannot get the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme. So such units which have become trust after 31/3/2018, that means their loan repayment is due for more than 60 days or 90 days. Such units can avail the restructuring under the subordinate debts for trusted MSMEs. Under this particular scheme, what is the proprietor or the director or the owner of the entrepreneur's stake? What is his stake as per the last audited statement? 15% will be given as a personal loan, and he can bring that amount again to for restructuring as his contribution and give a proposal to the bank for restructuring. Because he has taken already one loan and he is not able to repay it. So if when he go to the bank for restructuring, he has to bring his portion, for which he is not able, normally is not able to do it. So for which 15% of his stake is given as a loan, as a personal loan, which he can bring as his contribution. I can go for a restructuring. The biggest advantage of this loan is there is a cap for the repayment of the secondary loan for 7 years. Up to 7 years you need not to pay. In the total tenure of the loan is 10 years. So the last 3 years, the first 7 years he can repay the first loan, and the last 3 years he can repay the second loan. So that is the advantage of this particular. But this particular scheme has not really taken off in the field because of certain strict guidelines, in the sense the unit should be in operation. Even if it is in NPA, it should be in operation and should continue it in operation. And there should be a viable restructuring proposal. And 90% of the promoter's contribution will be given a guarantee by the government. 10% he has to provide the guarantee. Because of these factors, this particular scheme has not really taken well, and not much takers for this particular. So infrastructure development, we have got a cluster development program. This is a major scheme of the Ministry of MSME, where a group of MSMEs come together. They can create common facilities with the government assistance. 70% of the common project cost is met as a Government of India grant. It's a grant up to 20 crore. In Kerala, more than 15 clusters, more than 100 crore has already been sanctioned. And almost 12 CFCs have been commissioned. 4 projects are under implementation. In Kerala, in Ernakulam, this steel furniture cluster, around 15 crore project has been sanctioned with 10 crore Government of India grant. And the puppet cluster in Trivandrum has also been recently approved with a project cost of around 10 crore, which around 6 crore is a Government of India grant. So this particular component, the common facility, suppose a group of industries come together and their common challenge, suppose they wanted a common raw material center, they want a common machinery, which they cannot, individual units cannot afford. Such facilities can be created as a common facility, common design center, common effluent treatment plant, common testing center. All this can be created with the and they can avail up to 70% Government of India grant. This is a very good scheme of the government, Ministry of MSME, which is getting benefited by a lot of industries. Also, there is a scheme for infrastructure development for industrial park. In Kerala, more than 12 parks, infra, Sitco parks, given up to 10 crore projects, up to 60% assistance is given in ID projects. The rubber park in Ernakulam is recently approved. Airapuram rubber park has been approved under the scheme. I am not going to all these things because I think a lot of things have been told already. But Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, Stand Up India, it's a 1 crore loan for women and SC/ST entrepreneurs by all banks, branches has to give. This is a Stand Up India loan. PSB loan 59 minutes is again an online portal where you can submit your loan application through it's an online portal where it will assess your bank accounts and income tax, and you will get an online in principle approval with which you can approach the banks within 59 minutes. You can, if you are eligible, you will get a in principle approval. Udyami Mitra is a portal operated by SIDBI, Small Industry Development Corporation, Small Industry Development Bank, to avail different loans through the single portal. National Small Industries Corporation is the Ministry of MSME. They've got office in Kochi. They offer different services, including credit, marketing, raw material, all the marketing supports. It's a corporation. It's a mini Rekna corporation under the Government of India, Ministry of MSME. There is a Small Industries Development Bank. This is an NSIC office in Kochi. There is also Small Industries Development Bank operating at this SIDBI has got exclusive products for the MSME sector, for existing and new enterprises. Recently, COVID package also they have come up with various products. They got office in Kochi, in Financial Towers, where you can get all the systems. Recently, they have come up with the various products for the COVID-related products for the MSME sector, SWAS and Arog. These are the CDB products. MSME Ministry has recently come up with a champions portal. This is a grievance mechanism. For any grievance related to state government, central government, it's a single portal where you can place your grievances. All the state governments got nodal officers are there. Banks got nodal officers, and different agencies nodal officers are there. So the grievance will be directed to the concerned nodal officers, and you may get the grievance redressal. So that is, and also you can give suggestions, various suggestions, MSME related suggestions in the champions portal. So MSME Development Institute Thrissur, we are functioning at Thrissur. It's a small office with around 8 officers. So, but we are conducting a lot of programs within with our limited resources. In fact, today we had a program on e-waste management. It is a national workshop on single-use alternative products for single-use plastic. This e-waste program was conducted in association with the Center for Material for Electronic Testing, Hyderabad, which is a nodal agency for technology provider for electronic waste processing. So we had a program in which around 200 participants participated. And during the period, we have conducted more than 100 webinars on different subjects. And we received very good response from the MSMEs and all the stakeholders. And we also conduct a lot of training programs, awareness programs, workshops for the MSME beneficiaries with our limited resources. With these words, I conclude. And if any query is there, I can answer it.
Yes, thank you very much for that very, very detailed presentation. We have a few questions. But before that, quickly to reiterate certain things which you mentioned about the registration. MSMEs, all the MSMEs have to be registered on the Union Ministry's portal. And the speaker also did mention about the re-registration. I think that is something new, Mr. Prakash. If you could explain a little more on the re-registration which is to be done before 31st December. Could you throw some more light on that?
Yeah, re-registration means, see, you may have registration like SSI registration, or earlier we had a Udyam Aadhaar memorandum, Udyam UAM. Okay.
Yeah.
All these people has to change over to Udyam registration before before December 31st. All the existing registration, those who are not shifted to Udyam registration is the current registration. So they have to shift it to the new registration.
So they will be getting the classification as per the new criteria.
Yeah, they will be
classified the micro, small, and medium.
Yeah, they will.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay,
because
and then traders.
Earlier we had only investment criteria. Suppose somebody is having say 50 crore investment, but their turnover is say 700 crore. They will still enjoying the MSME benefits. But now there is a cap for turnover. No? So
100 crores turnover.
Yeah. So based on that, it will be reclassified, and you have to re-register.
And about the traders, you said the new thing which has come as a big relief. But then from your presentation, it looks like it is only for the purpose of priority lending that traders would be given the MSME label. Yeah,
there are two views on that. And the first thing is the conventional MSMEs are not very enthusiastic about traders coming to their company. So the fear is that already that credit availability for MSME is very limited. So major chunk of it may be taken by traders. But the government, for the notification purpose, it has very clearly mentioned that this particular classification will be only meant for the priority sector lending, because already banks are giving credit to the traders So once they give the credit to the traders, they can be classified. The banks can classify under the MSME criteria. So they will come under the priority sector lending. So that is existing notification. Further changes will come. I don't know.
So another question is like this 59 minutes loan. Is it really working, or is it just a scheme? What's your take on that?
No, see, if you really go to the site, and if you crores of something around thousands of crores has been already in process and sanctioned. Figures are with me, but right now the presentation is not there. It is really working. See, the thing is, it will fetch the data from income tax site, your bank statement, and you will get a in principle approval. So this will give it's like a guarantee. Not with that one, so you can approach the banks, but again the bank may process it, but the bank cannot just deny simply deny the loan because it has been in principle approval by the particular quarter.
So the basic parameters will have to be fulfilled. It's not just like automatic and
it's a electronic portal where suppose you got it will fetch the data from income tax side, it will fetch the data from your bank statements, and it will generate based on your request, and based on it will generate in principle. Okay.
Sir, our MSME chair is a seasoned banker. So, Bhargavan sir, you have something to add there?
No, see, similarly, when the CGTMSC, that program, that scheme was also announced, there was a lot of apprehension, but a lot of loans got sanctioned without collateral security. Generally, as Prakash sir rightly said, if you keep the right particulars in the perfect way, there are a lot of such loans are getting sanctioned even now and then also.
But there's a due process.
Due process, yeah.
I understand. So, fine. So the GEM that we talked about, the e-market, which is in size, it looks really, really attractive. So does that require a separate registration, or MSMEs? How do they access that GEM network? If you could throw some more light there.
You have to go to the GEM and you need to meet their criteria because you are registering as a supplier. So you have to prove some credentials. You should have some credentials. Last 3 years operation, your auditor statements, maybe 2-3 years they will require. So with all these documents, if you submit, and one of the main thing is there are certain product criteria like computers. So if your product is listed already, you will get immediately, you can get it. Criteria. If your product is not listed in that criteria, like suppose you are an umbrella manufacturer, the umbrella sector is not there, then they have to create that particular sector. So it may take some time, but otherwise you can get it. You can get it registered. In fact, GEM has got a nodal officer in Kerala. One officer is there. This is facilitator, and the GEM site also we got online training. So many assistants they are providing. You can get you can visit the GEM site and you can get all the details.
All right. Okay. One common demand is that asking the speaker to share the presentation deck. The president has answered for the benefit of everyone. I'm saying that we have the YouTube channel, so you have access there. So the presentation can be viewed there, and the information given, including the phone numbers, contact numbers, email IDs, websites for registration by the experienced speaker, you could access there. So that is there. And TREADS also, the trade receivables discounting system. And one issue raised by another participant was that the facilitation MSCFC, that's probably I think it's a state matter. We have only one center which is now in Trivandrum. So there's a request that some of the forms are not available, and some of the we would probably ideally Kerala would require 2 more, one in Cochin and one more in Calicut. So from as a central government representative, what is your response to that? See,
normally MSCFC under the Director of Industries, each state has got only one. But my request is we have to make the embassy, because normally any of this facilitation or the quasi-judicious type, Even the court, we know, number of cases are piling up. So during the pandemic period particularly, because this facilitation council has to call both the parties and the buyer and seller and verify all the documents. So when they issue the notice, like the court, the buyer may not produce the document, he may ask for some extension. So they have to go on prolonging it. So that is a main issue. There are cases get delayed in facilitation council. So how we can tackle, that's the main issue. One major issue I think is to be tackled. And another thing is, even if you it's awarded, the buyer is not obeying, or is not implementing it. That also one challenge normally MSMEs face. So these are the challenges, but the government is also aware of it, and the government is many a times even the government departments itself is the defaulter. So how they will, that is also issue. So these are some challenges the people like KMA can think about and find out some solutions. But definitely you can take up this proposal. The government, of course, it's well and good.
Mr. Anthony, are you there? Would you like to unmute and expand upon that, the question? Is it okay? I think that is a key point. In absence of some forms, it's working, and the cluster again, that sounded new for even for finance professionals like us. The cluster funding, which is there for developing common facilities. As you said, Kerala, we already have so many of them. So what is the process? Briefly, if you could explain on the cluster funding and how a cluster could be formed. Common procurement, common facilities, even ETP you said, effluent treatment.
Yeah,
sorry, please.
It is like the furniture cluster in Ernakulam, they have come up with a common facility center for advanced machines. See, furniture normally in our Kerala, furniture manufacturers are there making chairs, tables, cupboards and all. But when it comes to make something like a hospital furniture, or in the sense auditorium furniture, they are not able to do it. In fact, some of the manufacturers in furniture cluster in Ernakulam, they told they got the order from the Rajagiri hospital, but they are not able to supply it. So you need some advanced machines like CNC based machines, bending machine, CNC, small screws, hitches. These are required. Furniture design center. So a CNC bending machine is about 5 crore. So you cannot afford, single unit cannot afford it. So the units, they come together and they make a cluster. As per the policy guidelines, 20 minimum units has to come up. They must come together.
And what should be the constitution? You said a trust in between. So if 50 trade is 20.
It should be a Section 8 company.
Section 8 company. Only that, not a trust or society.
Earlier they were allowing, but now it is a Section 8 company. The SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, has to register as a Section 8 company, and they have to come with a proposal, common facility proposal, and minimum 10%. That's a minimum. Normally to go up to 20%, even more than that.
Funding is in the form of a grant, or is it repayable?
Minimum 20% come from the 10% should come from SPV, and the balance amount 70% up to 70% Government of India grant, which is not to be paid back, and 20% state government can also contribute. That is a major advantage. It need not pay back, but it's a Section 8 company, and the SPV has to manage the show, but they cannot take profit out of it.
Once you say it's a Section 8 company, for the information of the participants at large, Section 8 of the new Companies Act is a company which is registered without profit motive. Ideally, there are a lot of organizations who are getting into CSR as forming Section 8 companies. So the cluster funding, which would be very interesting for people to, like in this case, furniture manufacturers catering to a huge order from a major hospital or a facility that's coming up, this could be useful. And 70% is a grant, 20% contribution from the state government, and 10% is a commitment of the forming organizations, or rather the participants. Really striking. That should be ideal for Kerala. And so that is very good news. And Section 8 company as well.
Puppet manufacturers in Trivandrum, they are coming with a common raw material process. This is this Urudu dal, or Urudu dal, no? So that is a black gram is the main raw material. Black gram is the raw material for puppet. So the purity of the purity of that raw material is very essential. So they have come up with a common facility center to powder the black gram, which is a big plant type of thing. So the common facility center, even though you cannot take the profit, you can make profit from that entity. You have to reinvest there. You can reinvest there, and you can go for diversification. You can go for modernization. You can add on more facilities. All this is possible. But individual members, because government is also contributing, so the individual members cannot take the profit out.
Great. That could be ideal for Wayanad cane manufacturers, cane products, coir products, and many of the traditional products which are there in Kerala. That's very useful piece of information. So I think we have addressed most of the questions. So as we round up the experienced speaker with this real touch feel with all the government schemes, being in charge for MSME development in the state of Kerala and Lakshadweep, has given an overview of the various schemes of the government, and towards the end also spoke in brief about some of the banking schemes, about which we have another full detailed session coming up as a third one in the series. So a big thank you from every one of us here for the very lucid presentation, and we would like to leverage more, and also our participants MSME forum would like to work closely with you in popularizing these schemes, and also sensitizing the various MSMEs about the various schemes they have. Hanish sir did mention about the funding issues, the hand-holding issues, all those things. So I think together we can synergize a lot of things and bring about a lot of value addition and new capabilities and new hopes for the MSME sector through dissemination of information in the first place. And KMA would probably act as a platform for bring the aspiring MSMEs and the government agencies together. So we look forward to that. With that, I hope there are
in the chat box. I don't know whether you address all the queries in the chat box.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. There's one which is about the concession for special concession for women entrepreneurs. I think your presentation did have that. Two of the schemes have a special trust on women entrepreneurs. Can you quickly recall that, or would you like to go back to the slide, or can you quickly recall that?
No, see, the women entrepreneurs schemes are only, I told you, Stand Up India loan. For any scheme, most of the schemes got a special component for women. So women is in cluster schemes. In the cluster scheme also, if women-based enterprises come together, 90% can be given as a Government of India grant. Women-based cluster members can come together. At least 50% of the enterprise should be women enterprises. If a cluster makes, they can 90% Government of India grant is possible. So like that, every scheme got, like I told you, public procurement policy, within the 25%, 3% is reserved for women enterprises. That is a challenge faced by the public sectors to identify the right type of women entrepreneurs to supply their supply their products and services, or their components or their services. So like BPCL, if you take, BPCL is purchasing roughly around 5,500 crore. So 25% is a very good amount. And in that one, 3% will be a sizable amount. So the women entrepreneurs need to supply such items for which BPCL is finding it's difficult. So such schemes, such programs are there, which we can utilize. Another query is the 15% price preference. See, as I told you, the Government of India public procurement policy is for the Government of India enterprises and Government of India undertakings or PSUs. State government also has got a state public procurement policy, but the implementation of it is with the state store purchase department. So they are also giving similar, almost similar facilities for the state PSUs. That's what. Any other queries there?
Is there a separate empanelment for that? This preferred procurement?
State procurement.
A price preference procurement. Is there a separate?
No. All the MSMEs are eligible for the price preference.
Right.
If you have got a valid MSME registration, you are valid for, you will get the price preference.
Yeah. There's another general question for the young job seekers. Mr. Suresh Kumar asked this question: to become entrepreneurs, does the Industries Department and government offer additionally departing from the practice of the past few decades? Is there any new schemes for igniting entrepreneurship?
Government of India level is a Mudra loan, then Stand Up India, PMEG, Prime Minister's Employment Generation up to 25 lakh projects is available. Mudra loan up to 10 lakh, and Stand Up India 1 crore. These are the new schemes. The Stand Up India, this Startup India is a single agency which provides all the supports. When the seed capital is there, a lot of supports are available for the startups. I not covered the startups. Startups are different types of organizations with innovative products and services, for which the Startup India is giving separate policy and support services. I have not covered that one.
Okay. One more question from Mr. Mahesh is that any new schemes announced for financial year 21-22, like GCL loan issued last year? Emergency guarantee.
Only this recently announced announcement. The emergency credit line guarantee scheme 3 lakh has been increased to 4.5, and certain other schemes like animal husbandry, FPOs, farmers producer organizations, etc. Some schemes are announced, but MSME specific only the 3 lakh crore has been increased to 4.5 lakh crore. That is only.
And it's still open. GCL is still open. It's not closed. So no fresh schemes for 21-22 on top of that.
No.
Mr. N.C. Krishnan, the question is not clear. Is know-how, N.C. Krishnan, is know-how shared? Is know-how shared? Okay, fine. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, know-how shared in the sense, could you expand upon the question?
This is the way he shared his know-how. His know-how shared means, see, know-how shared means, as you told you, today we have got a program with CMET about the electronic waste processing. Similarly, various technologies developed by various R&D institutes is available. National Research Development, NRDC, National Research Development Corporation, is having a compendium of all the technologies from research institutes. If you visit their site, you can get the information about all the technologies available, public funded R&D institutes. So you can, the know-how is now available. Even this pandemic, the oxygen, the concentrations. We have organized programs. Center for Mechanical Engineering Research Institute, Durgapur, has come up with a technology. We have organized a program and a lot of people got benefited out of it. ISRO has come up with a technology on ventilator and all this. So technology is now available for the MSMEs. Only thing is you have to search it and find it out. Even the patent site is also a big source of information.
Like 3D printing centers for prototypes, etc. Regil Das has asked, like 3D printing.
Our proposed technology center coming up in Angamali will have a 3D printing facility where you can use it as a common facility. I think we'll have a 3D printing facility.
At Angamali?
Yeah.
Great.
So I think all the questions have been kind of addressed.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash, and thank you so much, Mr. Jomon, for bringing out all these points. And I must really thank Mr. Prakash for that lucid presentation. Obviously the man of the domain. He was definitely comfortable with all the questions, all the slides. And as we mentioned, the presentation is already available on the YouTube. If you wanted to have a relook at some of the points, some of the slides which he has already explained in detail. I don't think any doubts were there. The way in which he very coolly sitting and explaining the whole thing. Thank you so much, sir. You can't get a better domain expert than him to explain all these points, and the slides were very explanatory. And of course, the way in which he answered the questions also, picking up one by one from the chat box as well as those who were actually raised to him. Thank you so much, sir, for that. And once again, apologies for that interruption in the beginning. I was just pulling him out of the room because after my speech, I just called Mr. Hanish on the phone and I asked him, are you going to come or not, or shall we ask? He said, you already started. I said, just started. Then he said, can I just come in and say hi and go? I said, okay, then come in. That's how, it was done. Otherwise, I know as a speaker, it is very irritating to interrupt someone in the beginning, that too when you're setting the tone. Anyway, you didn't have any trace of that interruption there when you continued with the talk. Thank you so very much for being there. Of course, a formal vote of thanks will be done by our Joint Secretary, Mr. Algiers. Bala, it was wonderful that you started off the workshop series with Mr. Prakash, and let's look forward to the other three also in the coming months. Delegates will be eagerly looking forward to that. A wonderful show to begin with. I'll request our Joint Secretary, Mr. Algiers Khalid, for the formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Algiers.
President Madhav Chandran, Chief Guest of the Evening, APM Anish, Speaker of the Session, GS Prakash, Secretary Jomon George, Chairman MSME Forum B. Balagopal, Galaxy of Past Presidents, Managing Committee, and KMA members. Indeed, a very fruitful session today to commence the MSME workshop series. The chief guest, Mr. APM Mohammed Hanish, Principal Secretary, Industries Department, was once again in his eloquent best. It really set the tone for today's workshop. Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time to be the chief guest and for inaugurating the first MSME workshop session of this year. Your short and precise talk was so nice for the perspective of your Industries Department on the space in the market, application of technology, innovation and finance, for the excellence of MSMEs. It really energized everyone present. Highly appreciate, grateful to you, sir. Our speaker and subject matter and domain expert for the session, Mr. GS Prakash, an authority on the micro, small and medium enterprise, being the Joint Director in the Ministry of MSMEs, covered all important aspects and beautifully articulated various support systems and the government schemes through different organizations. Thank you, sir, for explaining the registration process for Udayam and other government benefits for MSMEs, the current challenges, grievance redressal, and the road ahead for MSMEs. Most of them were eye-opener for most of us. Thank you, Secretary Jomon George, for introducing the topic by sharing your professional experience of guiding various MSMEs and also moderating the Q&A to bring out the best in today's workshop. Special thanks to Chairman MSME Forum, B. Balagopal, for arranging the event and also welcoming everyone present. Thanks to also past presidents, managing committee, and KMA members for attending in large numbers today. Over 100+ members were present throughout the session. I would also place on record and thank the Secretary team led by Executive Director Lieutenant Jojo Jacob and his team members Prijit and Padma Kumar. Sponsors for MSME Forum Workshop Series, Messrs. Muthoot Finance needs a special mention for their wholehearted support in joining hands with KMA for this workshop series. Also, thanks to our other sponsors, Medivision, Hale, Sierra, Varma Homes. They all play a very important role in success of all programs of KMA. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Joint Secretary Algiers Khalid. Before we wind up, let's have a video of the sponsor once again. Because of him only, this function and the series of workshop is going to happen. Prajit, over to the video. Just a second.
എന്തു പറ്റി സുഹൃത്ത്? ലോണിന് പിറകെ ഓടുകയാണല്ലേ?
അതെ.
മുത്തൂറ്റ് ഫൈനാൻസ് ലോൺ ആൻഡ് ഹോം സർവീസിലേക്ക് വിളിക്കൂ. ഉടൻ ഗോൾഡ് ലോൺ നേടൂ വീട്ടിലിരുന്നു കൊണ്ട്. വിളിക്കൂ 1-800-202-1212 എന്നിട്ട് ജീവിതത്തിൽ മുന്നേറൂ.
Thank you, Muthoot Finance. And before we wind up, let me just make an announcement that we have a new series of discussions starting this time from the CEO Forum at KMA. It is titled as Rendezvous with the CEO, where we are featuring highly successful CEOs of the public and private sector enterprises in conversation with our managing committee member and chairman of KMA MSME, CEO Forum, former executive director of BPCL Kochi Refineries and current CEO and executive director of Naira Refineries, Gujarat, Mr. Prasad K. Panikar. The first of the series of Rendezvous with the CEO will have the chairman and the managing director of FACT Limited, Mr. Kishore Rangta, on Thursday, that is day after tomorrow, July 29th at 6 p.m. Please do not miss it when Mr. Rangta will share insights into his ongoing successful tenure at FACT, which turned around the limping public sector company, surpassed its targets, and could showcase the highest financial performance of the company in the recent years. So this will be the first edition of the Rendezvous with Mr. Kishore Rangta on 29th July at 6 p.m. And also note that the 38th annual competition for the V-Star KMA Young Managers 2021 is open now. The last date for receiving nominations will be 31st of July. Please visit our website to get more details or contact our secretariat so that your performing managers or those young managers present here may please see if they stand a chance to compete with their peers and win the coveted award from KMA. That is a V-Star KMA Young Manager Award. So once again, let me thank Mr. Prakash for this wonderful session, and a memento, which is signature memento of KMA, which was flashed in between, will be physically reaching you very soon, sir. And once again, thank you so much for making this workshop a meaningful one and a good start for the MSMEs to let them be guided by experts like you. Thank you.
Let me also thank KMA for giving me this opportunity to interact with the elite management experts of our state. And in fact, Mr. Madhav Chandran, in fact, you do not be so much apologetic about interrupting the speech, and it is all open normally in the such functions. So I'm really happy to interact with all of you and look forward with your expertise and association and your support for the benefit of. My request is, see, the MSMEs need the mentor supports. At least the KMA members can provide some support to the MSME mentors, wherever possible. KMA can at least think about a formal system where the MSMEs can approach and they can link with some experts so that the mentor service can.
Rightly said, sir. Rightly said, sir. In the introductory remark, when I mentioned we have got 4 sessions which are coming up, one yours, and after that 2 of them one from the state government domain expert and one from the banking industry. The 4th one is actually we are actually in the process of setting up a platform of a help desk kind of a thing for the MSMEs, where we can actually collaborate with all these stakeholders of the ecosystem and take them together, because they need it so badly now, and that's what we have realized. We'll definitely do that. We'll be in touch with you. We'll look forward to your guidance. And once again, thank you so much. And
okay, thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all the delegates.